How long do we have on this planet till it can no longer be our home? How much does the average person on the planet pollute? What is the perception of versus the reality of the situation? Hello, my name is Gideon Krochel, and within this podcast, the question of how much is really being thrown away is called to attention in an investigative piece that will delve into the source of pollution and what people believe they produce towards the reality. Gathering the viewed perception of the everyday American, I interviewed fellow Texas Tech students in order to obtain how much they believed we recycled, threw away, and how much ended up in our oceans. How much trash a day would you say the average American makes in pounds?
In pounds?
In pounds.
The average American, so I would say maybe like 10 pounds.
Probably around 15.
At least 5 pounds, maybe.
It is perceived through the 3 interviews that the average American will make 10 pounds a day. However, in reality, the average American will make 4.4 pounds of trash a day. How much of that trash is recycled, though? What percentage of trash do you believe is recycled in the United States?
Probably 20% or less.
Okay, 10.
14.
According to the Municipal Solid Waste Report provided by the Environmental Protection Agency, America's current recycling rate is 34.4%. Of 4.4 pounds daily, we recycle 1.5 pounds individually. With the impending future only 10 years away, country leaders are asking climate change experts what needs to change. According to Andrew King, a climate science expert who lectures at the University of Melbourne, states that globe's emissions would need to fall 45% from 2010 levels, as well as continuing a net zero policy around 2050, which is a disposable system that recycles waste at the same rate of non-recycled waste. With sea levels rising 8 inches in the last 100 years and growing ever higher at an accelerated rate, according to NASA on global climate change, the truth is the American waste disposal system was never sustainable to begin with, as experts at the UN Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change state that the globe is currently to reach a 2.7 degree increase in Fahrenheit. Since pre-industrial level in 2030, the resulting climate change, if not prevented, will produce an increase in drought, flood, wildfire, and food shortages. In order to better understand the environmental issues, I've brought in Derek Ezzi, an international economics major who typically deals with environmental issues.
Hello.
Derek, what books could people read to educate themselves on environmental issues and its future?
Well, there are a couple. The first one that comes to mind is The Water Will Rise, or The Water Will Come. And basically it deals with global warming and the consequences it has on major port cities. The second one is The World Without Us, which talks about nature reclaiming land that we once took, especially around major cities once again. And then the third book, which does not deal with the environment specifically, is Homo Deus, which is by a good guy named Harari. It basically talks about the unintended consequences humans have on everything they try to achieve, including the environment. So those are 3 books I highly recommend.
What policies do you think would benefit humans and the environment?
Well, there are a couple. So the first and foremost is in economics. We deal with the allocation of resources. And for that, we have to decide where our priorities are. So is our priorities to advance our own self-interest, or is it to take care of the environment? While many politicians say that you can only have one or the other, I feel like there could be cooperation along both lines. And as long as you know what you're doing with the resources wisely. So, for example, windmills are a great source of energy. They do not intrude much on the environment, and they provide a high capacity of energy for major cities, including Lubbock. So that's one. And then the other policy that comes to mind is Teddy Roosevelt, our president, who set off natural parks. That would be a better one. Lately in the years, you see a lot of settlements being built, intruding on the natural park. But if we learn to keep our grounds and make them off limits, we can preserve much of nature to keep existing even long after we're not there. We shoot to move out. because I think a lot of people don't realize is our consequences aren't just an on-off switch. It takes a while for nature to get back into the motion that we have disrupted.
And how can countries unite to address environmental issues?
Well, the first and foremost that I have is communication. So countries need to talk to one another about what they prioritize rather than act selfishly in their own interest without making it known to other countries so they can compensate. And so what I believe is with cooperation, we can understand how certain countries can plan to have a better world for our children. And even though that sounds like a cliche, that is one of the biggest priorities for all countries, to keep things going for them. So it's very important for communication and global planning if you want to tackle what is a global problem.
Why do you think most environmental issues are unknown to the public?
Well, I think it's just a lack of interest. And also, it's just not biased, but I think people do tend to shy away from things that discomfort them. And you see it all the time, even with fake news. And you see how people shy away from what frightens them, what challenges them, what causes them to have to think. So I think that's why a lot of the public stays away from that sort of topic. But it doesn't have to be that way. Another policy that comes to mind now that Gideon brought it up is public education. A lot of people would call it indoctrination, but if you put a class in public schools to teach people about the issues so they have to think before they get used to a certain way of, a certain mode of thinking, and you expand their mind, their horizon, I think you would be able to find it much easier to solve the problem.
The issue of climate change, as well as sustainability, isn't just the lack of precaution for the planet's health, but an issue of misinformation as well, as the public is not properly informed on how the planet is changing and the repercussions that are held with this change. The perception of the average human does not match the reality, but there are answers to the solution through education and change. My name is Gideon Kochel. Thank you for listening to my podcast.